One of my mutuals just posted a video, something I've talked about before too, is that no one falls in love faster than a man who ain't got no place to stay, who ain't got no money. I used to work with this woman years ago. I have tons of these stories. I've worked at several different places in my life. But I used to work with a woman years ago, and I asked her one day, we were bored, it was slow, it was a jewelry store that I worked in. And I said, how did you and your husband meet? And she said, we met at a bar, and he walked up to me and said, I'm going to marry you. And I said, yep, you are. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, that's awfully fast. That's interesting. You know, the red flag in my head just started, waving violently. But then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just overreacting. You know, they seem really happy. She talks and says good things about him all the time. It's nothing. Maybe this is an exception to the rule story. No. So, as I got to know her over time, as you get to know your coworkers, y'all spend a lot of time working together. This is the type of guy that quits jobs at the slightest inconvenience. The man doesn't give him the respect he deserves, basically. One of those types of situations. And I'm not saying that racism within the workforce doesn't exist, because it very much does, and I've experienced it. But y'all know what type of man I'm talking about. So he would come home, tell this story about somebody who done him wrong. And she would say every single time, just quit. And take your time and find something that you truly enjoy. Take as much time as you need. And of course, he would oblige. Also, he had a mom who needed medical care. When the idea was presented that the mom live with them, he gave her this long speech about how my mom is my responsibility and I don't want anyone taking care of her but me. And I remember her telling me this story, and she just had hearts in her eyes, and she was just so proud of him. But again, over time, she would tell me things, and I began to realize that after that long, beautiful speech he gave her, she was the one taking care of his mother by herself. And they own a home. And every time something would go wrong with that home, every time something would break, she was the one that was paying for it every time. So this beautiful man who fell in love at first sight was nothing more than a grifter. And she was simply codependent, possibly desperate for a relationship, and wanting to settle down, male-centered. She also told me stories about how she was raised to take care of her men. So she'd wake up at the crack of dawn, I think she said 5 a.m., to make sure he ate a good breakfast. She cooked, she cleaned, and she worked full-time, more than full-time, because we were short-staffed. So we were working minimum of maybe 45, 50, 60 hours a week. So, you know, I understand that there are some exceptions to the rule of people who maybe you did meet and you knew this is the person. And y'all have been married since forever and y'all are happy and there are no issues. I love that for you. Every time a woman gets into a relationship with a man, I want it to be good because I've seen the other side and I don't want anybody going through that. But more times than not, it's a lie. It's simply infatuation, and you're taking a huge risk that is not going to turn out well for you. There's a reason this person is saying these things. There's a reason this person is expediting their relationship, and it's not love. If somebody walks up to me and tells me they're going to marry me, I'm gonna look at them like they're crazy. and I'm not going to engage in conversation with them. I don't waste my precious time and energy on people. You know, people tell me all these stories and comebacks that they be saying to these men, and I'm like, you can never get that time back, but hey, do you? But you know, my whole thing is, how do you know you love me? Tell me what you love about me. And you can't just say it's the way you look. Because if that's the case, you know, there's, you know, tons of people I would have married throughout my lifetime. And you can't just say there's just something about you. Well, we're all special in a different way. There's something about all of us. And you can't just say, I don't know. Well, you kind of have to know if you love someone and want to marry them, right? And then what's the rush? Why do we have to do it immediately? Why we got a 100-yard dash to the courthouse or to plan a wedding? Why you got your 2 garbage bags at my door ready to move in already? Most importantly, this is what I pull women up by the collar emotionally. This is what I gotta ask. This is what I have to say, rather. If you are in financial ruin, your focus at that moment needs to be somehow getting back above water in some way. No, I am not saying that if you are poor, you cannot. I'm sure somebody's going to misconstrue what I am saying, but those who know, you understand, okay? Also, there is nothing more dangerous than a man that you are doing better than. And y'all can laugh at me and tell me that I am overreacting. I have lived it and I have witnessed it. It's not a good thing. If you come to me and I find out that you're having a hard time, I'm going to give you the number to 211. They're going to ask you for your zip code, and they're going to give you the resources in your area. I, however, am not 211. I am not saying that somebody has to be rich, but what I am saying is that when it comes to finances, I'm not playing with that. You got to have your life together. One thing I definitely need to know about you is that you're not just talking to me because you need your bills paid, because you need a car to drive, and because you need a roof over your head, or because you need a babysitter for your kids. Absolutely not. You can play the lottery, but you're not going to play me.